Welcome to the Unstoppable Mum Summit 2020, where an amazing panel of expert women will share their secrets and their wisdom on how to find your motivation, energy, and unique purpose in the craziness of motherhood, marriage, work, and wellness. I'm Sarah Reinberger. I'm an occupational therapist. I'm a mother of two mini ladies, coach, and I'm the founder of Empowered Space. And for the second year in a row, I'm your host for this event. And today I am speaking to the very bubbly and very motivated Tiffany Julie. Now, Tiffany Julie is a leading high-performance coach and a seven-figure entrepreneur who helps her clients transform out of fear, fatigue, and frustration to stepping fully into their passion, their power, and their potential, so they start living a fully vibrant, fulfilling life. Oh, that sounds good, doesn't it? And today, I have such pleasure in talking with Tiffany Julie about the motivation and momentum formula. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me. This is so fun. Second year in a row.
It's true, right? We had to bring you back. Last year, you spoke about energy, which of course we're featuring as well in this summit. And this year, you're talking about motivation, which we also talk about a lot in this summit. So you're the perfect person that goes with this summit. And I have to say that the idea around motivation, or the concept of motivation, certainly in my client circles gets talked about a lot. What if I don't have any? What exactly is it? How do I get some? How am I meant to pursue my dreams if I don't feel motivated? All that kind of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to delving into that today. So let's talk motivation.
Let's do it. I'm here. I'm ready. And this is all encompassing, because it's not just like, how do we get motivation for our business goals, or how do we get motivation for these big dreams? Sometimes it literally is like, how do we get motivation to get out of bed, brush our teeth, go to work, take care of ourselves, take care of our family, because it's not easy some days. And so this is going to be a really great conversation, because it kind of hits on all these points of how do you generate motivation, first of all, because we don't just have motivation. And I said this on the energy call, right? We don't just have energy, we generate it. We don't just have motivation, we generate it. We didn't come out of the womb like, I'm here and I'm motivated, for the next level, right? We have to learn how to generate it. And I have a really great framework I'm going to help everybody on the call go through for themselves, for their goals, that I go through with my clients or myself every time that I go to set a goal or go to understand what the next chapter of my purpose is. And I go through this framework, because it's not just about generating it. It's how do we sustain the motivation? When the days are tough and we don't feel like showing up, how do we sustain it? And then the third piece is how do we elevate it? How do we not have these dips in our motivation, like we're on this roller coaster ride? High performance is all about that sustaining piece, just being able to sustain that momentum over the long term. And so this is exactly what that framework will help everybody to do.
So what is motivation? Is it a feeling?
Well, I love that question, actually. And I think it's more about clarity first and foremost. I think in order to have motivation, you need to be clear on what it is, what your next level is, or what your goals are, or who you want to be, or the next level of ambition for yourself. I think clarity is the first piece and the pillar of motivation. If you're not clear, how do you have momentum towards anything? You're going to stall out and you're going to have no direction. So it all starts with clarity. And then the second piece, once you're clear, you have to have commitment. You have to have this level of commitment and belief in yourself that you can actually achieve these things, whatever that means to you at that time.
Oh, it's so important, isn't it? And so when you talk about clarity, what first comes to my mind is clarity around what my purpose might be. What it is that I'm working towards, what I'm here to do. And then perhaps that's where the motivation comes from. Would that be right?
Yeah. So, and it can be a feeling as well, but how do you generate that feeling, or how do you even know that feeling if you don't have the clarity? So I think a lot of people put pressure on themselves to figure out their ultimate life purpose. like I have the one path, the one thing I'm meant to do. And although we all have our own unique talents, sometimes it's not a linear path on like the one thing, right? And I like to look at purpose as chapters in a book. So each new chapter is broken out, and I like to work myself into like 12-week chapters of my purpose. Some people like to look at a whole year of purpose. Like, what is my purpose for this year? Or what is my purpose for 6 months? So this is a different journey for everybody, but I like to break it out and think, and that eliminates the pressure of like having to think that you have the one thing, because people can sit and stall in that. And then they're like, oh, I don't know. And they get an analysis paralysis, and then they never get moving towards anything because they're so afraid that it's not the right purpose. But it's like my path to purpose where I am today, I had to take the steps. I had to just have that next level of clarity and just take a step. And then the next level of clarity and take a step. And then now I'm here and I'm like, wow, like this is my purpose. I'm living it. But there's another level of purpose for me after this too. But I would have never got there if I didn't start with the one thing I knew I wanted. So even if it's just the one thing you know you want now, maybe it's better health. Maybe you want to be the best mom you can be. Maybe you want a new job. Maybe you want to find a new career. Maybe you want to go to a new level in your business. Whatever that is, the one thing, that's your clarity. And then we get commitment back behind that. And every day when you take that action towards it, you're going to start to feel and generate the emotion and the feeling behind the motivation for it.
I just love the way you have put that, and breaking the purpose down into chapters at, in whatever time frame that suits the person who is doing that. And you're so right, because if, all this pressure to find, my purpose in life can be just so overwhelming for people. What if I make the wrong choice? What if I go down the wrong path? But if you break it up, you can at least afford yourself some space to experiment and see, is this still feeling right? I'm heading in the right direction. That is fantastic. I love that. Let's talk about how we're going to generate our motivation. Let's talk about your formula.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 3 phases to the formula. It's like, we have to first spark the motivation. Okay. And I guess that's where like, you're going to spark the feeling as well. So it's almost like we spark the motivation, or we generate the motivation. And the second phase is, okay, well, once we've sparked it, once we've generated some motivation to the next level, once we've gotten clarity, then how do we sustain it? Like, how the heck do we, on the days we don't feel like showing up, how do we still hold ourselves accountable? How do we still pull through? How do we still keep that momentum consistent? Because this is a rocky road for people. So I think all these phases are so important. And somewhere within here is, if you have lost motivation and you feel like sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off, you're missing one of these phases. You're missing something in one of these pieces. So phase 3 would be, how do we elevate? Like, how do we okay, so now we're sustaining that motivation, but how do we elevate it? How do we get like even more of a greater feeling? How do we get even more momentum? And I'm getting goosebumps, literally. I don't know if you could see my hair, like just by saying that, because there's so much power in the framework. And it doesn't just come from an internal process. We have to set up and prepare for generating motivation. And that comes with internal strategy, as well as setting up external pieces to hold your feet to the fire sometimes when you don't feel like pushing through, like deadlines you socialize with people, like outside accountability, because we can't just have these big goals and dreams inside. Otherwise, we are missing our full potential. We're missing some momentum because it's not easy on our own. And so if we set up all of this, then you absolutely will be able to generate it, elevate it, sustain it over the long term. And I think that's what we're all after in the end.
Oh, definitely. All right, let's talk about generating. Let's talk about sparking this motivation. What do I need internally and externally?
I love this. Well, first of all, the sparking piece is we have to raise our level of ambition. So what do I mean by that? So raise our level of ambition. Like, you have to look clearly at where you're at today, where you might be playing small, because we all are on some level, right? Like, that's what I help my clients do, is to really know what is my highest potential and how do I live into that? And why are we playing small? So asking yourself all these questions like, why haven't I started that business if I've wanted to? Is it my circle I'm hanging around with? Is it my belief system that maybe I don't believe that's possible for me? Why don't I have a higher level of ambition for my life right now? Like, what's held me back? And then getting that clarity and saying, okay, well, you know, what do I want for this next level? What is that next level of purpose in my purpose book? You know, what's that next chapter? And I think the second piece to that is once you're like, you figure out why you may be craving more, because if you're talking about wanting to be motivated, you're craving more of something, whether that's better health or whatever, you are craving something. And so then I think raising that level of ambition and understanding why you haven't been there, and then getting the clarity on what the picture looks like of where you want to go, that's absolutely the first step, the foundational piece. Because once we know, then we have a GPS and we can reverse engineer how to get there and stack everything else on top of that.
So this first step is sounding a lot like awareness, looking at where I am now and asking myself some questions about why I might be here, and then starting to think a little bit more about why I'm not here, or not wanting that, or I haven't thought about it, or I haven't made steps towards that. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. Awareness. That's the name of the game. We can't change anything unless we're aware of it. That's the first step to change.
Yeah,
is awareness. Totally. I love that.
All right. I'm loving that. That's fantastic. And so is it really just asking ourselves questions? Is there anything else we could be doing? What sort of questions are we asking ourselves?
Yeah, that's a good point. So I would look around, like if you're on the social medias and whoever you envy or you're jealous of, or you're always following them for some reason, right? Because you see potential, you have that untapped potential in yourself. So the first place you could start is like, why do I feel this way? Like, why do I follow these people? What do they have that I actually is unwitnessed in me that maybe I could be raising my ambition towards? Like, why do I love Marie Forleo? You know, like, for me, there's a whole laundry list, and I just think about that and I'm like, wow, I need to up level my game in order to be at that level and that impact, right? That's something, an example for me. So you could start there, and that will give you an entire awareness around like where you may be playing small, where you might have this untapped potential, where you're craving for that next new thing. It's like, because if you're looking at what somebody else is doing, it's not happening in your life, and you are watching them for a reason, because you envy them or you like what they have and you probably want it, right? Like you wouldn't be watching if you didn't. And we all do this. Like we're all on the social medias. So you could start there, or if you're not, you know, if you watch a TV show and you really have these different role models in your life around you, and you really, you know, think your grandma is the most amazing things, Leo said sliced bread. Like why? And what is she doing that maybe you're not doing? So that could be a good place to start.
And do you think it's true that, you know, that common kind of saying, or hopefully it's common, that you're the average of, you know, the 5 or so people that you spend the most time with? Do you think that's helpful?
Yes and no, because then people think they have to cut everyone out of their life when they're going to these new levels. So it's like a balance, but I think it's true, because right energy is real. So if your energy field, like, and that's a lot of what we're going to talk about in the elevate phase, is you have to look at who you're surrounding yourself with, because if they don't inspire you, how are you going to be inspired? How are you going to live a motivated life if the people around you aren't motivated for something else? They're not working towards something. It's virtually impossible. Like you have to have those, and you don't have to cut the people out who don't. You just start to have to add the people who can give you that as well. So you have a balance there. And I think that's the equilibrium sometimes people miss, is they cut, they're like, oh my gosh, I have to get rid of all my friends. And then they don't have any friends and they don't have any support system. And I'm like, no, like you don't have to do that. Maybe you limit the time that you spend with people who are more negative or don't bring you down and don't bring you up, but you can add other things over here to help yourself equal that out.
Perfect. Love that. It's great. Phase number 2, sustain.
Phase number 2. Okay. So how do we sustain the motivation? The number one reason why people lose motivation is because they lose emotional connection to their goal or to their dream or to the outcome that they want. Every single time my clients come to the call, and even myself, I know when I have lost momentum, or I don't feel like doing something, or, you know, I'm down that slippery slope that we start to feel ourselves kind of spiraling down out of like our really good stint of being energized and motivated. It's because you aren't connected to the outcome. So there can be a lot of reasons why, but we can counteract that by using visioning exercises every day and affirming your why to you. Like why? Like your brain and your subconscious mind needs to see that vision every single day. And there are hundreds of ways you can do this. And it doesn't have to take a long time. It just takes intention to schedule in like 5 or 10 minutes every day where you're either writing your goals out, or you're visualizing the end outcome, or you're setting an intention like, what am I going to do today to march me towards that? What's the one thing? Because if you just did one thing every day, then you would see progress. It could mean like affirming your why and getting to understand like, why do you want better health? Why do you want to be the best mom around the block? Why do you want to be a better role model for your team? You know, if you're building a team in your business, like why do you want to have 20K months? Any of it, like you have to know why and who it's for, because oftentimes we lose that connection and we start to go through the tasks of like what we have to actually do to get it done. Mm-hmm. And then we lose ourselves in these tasks and this busy work. And although it's getting us there, I think like for me, every 50 minutes, I don't start a project or a task unless I know and connect to that outcome. Like, wow, writing this email for this email funnel right now is eventually going to make it in the hands and the eyes of the person who needs to hear this message. And I'm reminding myself of that when I feel the resistance to doing the task. And so just connecting back to that why all throughout the day, in the morning, I'm very intentional about that. And that's why I don't drop off as much as a lot of other people do. So I think that is like the absolute number one thing that you can do right now to sustain that motivation, like over the long term.
And I suppose this is why people have vision boards and they do their meditation or their mindfulness exercises around their vision. I'm trying to think of all the other things that people do. The daily affirmations, writing in their diary, journaling, so many things that can keep us connected to what is most important, like our purpose, our destiny, our direction. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and you're firing yourself up because you're like, wow, like, look at this, look at my dream. Like, if you look at it every day, you're going to be like, how can I have that? Like, what am I going to, like, it's just automatically going to give you that momentum, because if you look at your dream and you're feeling it and you're like, yeah, I'm going to speak on that stage one day, and you see yourself there and you're writing it down, like, this is what I'm going to do, you automatically get energy to go and do the thing that maybe you didn't feel like you wanted to do. Or your health, like you have the bikini hanging up and you look at it and you're like, I want to fit in that so I can go to my vacation in Mexico. You know, if you did little things like that, you reminded yourself of why you wanted to go to the gym, you know, instead of like, oh, I have to go to the gym again. Like, that gets tough, or I have to choose the salad over the burger, whatever. But if the bikini is staring you at the face and you see the end outcome, you're gonna eat the salad over the burger, right? Like, it's just a natural part of the process. So keeping it in your mind's eye all the time is so important.
Very powerful. The idea of keeping the end in mind, so we're not getting caught up in the challenges that we have to face and overcome in order to get there, because we're not, if we're trying to achieve something that perhaps we've never done before, or it's new, it's different, then there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be work involved. And that can get heavy if we're not constantly attached to what is it that I'm aiming for in the end. Oh, so good.
Yeah. And people can get overwhelmed, right? Like, if you start writing out like all the steps to get to your your goal or your vision, you know, like you can get overwhelmed like right away. That zaps your energy, that will zap motivation any day of the week when you're just looking at like a big long list of like, oh my gosh, because actually the long list never ends. It just keeps going. So we're never going to be able to check off all the boxes. So how do we keep that perspective? And that is connecting to the end vision, the end goal, and actually seeing that it's possible for you too. You have to believe it in order to achieve it. So that also helps you like, wow, get a little perspective in that terms as well for your mindset.
Ah, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so I have generated my motivation. I am sustaining my motivation. How do I elevate?
Elevate. Okay, so the foundation is sparking. Okay, so that's the foundation. You can't go anywhere if you don't have clarity. No clarity, no goals. No clarity, no movement. No clarity, no momentum. No clarity, no feeling of we thrive off of having direction. When we don't have direction, like we just feel blah, right? Like if you don't have something you're working towards, you feel like you're sort of like dying in a way. And like when you have a goal you're working towards, you feel that energy. It's a different energy, right? So that's the foundation. And then sustaining it is that internal process, right? Like remember how I said we have to set up internal and external forces to help us actually have this motivation over the long term. Well, then the sustaining piece is you visualizing, you doing all this internal work, you understanding like, you know, and all the mindset stuff is going to start to come out when you vision your dream. You're going to know why you don't think it's possible for you. And so that's another part of that process that's really important, because if you don't believe it, like I said, you can't achieve it. And so that's that internalizing process of keeping the motivation. Now elevating is like, okay, how do I keep my feet to the fire when things are just going chaotic, when the funnel's not working, when I'm not seeing the weight loss and I've been to the gym 50 times and I've chosen the salad. Like sometimes things get in our way, blocks come up. And like you were saying, especially when it's something new, right? Like if you've never built a business before, like you're gonna run into blocks, and that's just the reality of it. Or if you've never tried to lose 10 pounds, you may not know how to do it effectively, and you're gonna have to like have the awareness, pivot when necessary, but that's not easy all on our own. So we need a support system to do it. So elevating is getting like level up your squad. That's what I say all the time. With any goal or any dream or anything my clients go after or myself, I'm like, how can I level up my squad? What does that mean? Can I get a coach? Can I get a personal trainer? Like who knows the path that I need to take that so I don't have to make the same mistakes that they did, that they already did, because that's a waste of time, right? Like we can speed this process up by hiring somebody external to help us, show us the way. And that's the easy way. Okay, Tiffany, but what if I can't afford a coach? Or what if that's not in my reality right today? Okay, fine. Then how can you get an accountability partner that is working towards the same outcome as you? And that's important. The same, who is working towards the same outcome as you. I wouldn't go get an accountability partner in my marketing. You know, I have multiple businesses. So I have different accountability partners for different things. I'm not going to have an accountability partner on how to, you know, elevate my marketing company is different than how to elevate my coaching business. Because the paths are completely two different stories, right? Or if you are going on a health journey, you know, and you want to get in the best shape and health of your life, do it with somebody else, because they're going to also make mistakes along the way you can learn from too. So if you can't get that external help just because the financial piece from a coach or a mentor or something, accountability partners are free. You can find somebody everywhere that can strive with you, and that will keep you motivated, because if you have to get on a call with them every week or every day, or how you set that up, we as humans need to be congruent with what we say we're going to do. And so you're going to think about that when you want to skip the gym and you're headed towards losing the 10 pounds, or you want to have that 20K month in your business you've never had, and you're working with somebody who hasn't done it either, but now you've told them these are the steps I'm going to take. And if you don't feel like doing the marketing email or whatever, Facebook ads, I don't know how you're marketing, you don't feel like doing that piece, you're going to remember, wow, I told them what I was going to do, and you're more apt to do it. So I think that external accountability piece is so important. Or they have masterminds, you know, you could create your own mastermind, you know, as well. I always believe that hiring out the specialist will just fast track you, because that's what we do, right? Like as coaches and mentors. And that's what I do every time I want to up level. And it shaved time off my timeline. People are like, how did you hit 7 figures on the internet in 14 months? I needed to have somebody help me with that. I didn't know how to do that. And so it would have taken me so much longer if I didn't step up and believe in myself and invest in myself in that way. So I think that's so important for external accountability.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, we find ourselves in this strange kind of place of needing to lean on willpower. And it's a finite resource, right? That, you know, if we don't protect, going back to last year's chat, if we don't protect our energy and that finite resource, it will dip. And we find ourselves in a position where it is hard to make that choice to choose the salad over the burger, right? In whatever field we're trying to up level on as well. So yeah, the accountability is really important. And I love your suggestion to find someone that is trying to achieve the same thing. And I think in our mum circle, mums are really awesome connectors. That is one thing that mothers do really, really well. And so I think being able to find someone that's trying to achieve the same thing as yourself can be actually potentially quite easy in this space as well. And, you know, we love connecting. It drives us, and we want to sit with people and show them how much progress we've made towards our goal. And also, I think as women, we naturally want to support other people to do the same. So we're probably actually excellent accountability partners, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And think about that. Like, you know, how much more fun would your striving towards something be if you had somebody to do it with? Like, it's lonely going alone. And we do want to support each other. So like, you know, you're going to be out there Googling the thing, like, how do we get to this 20K month? They're going to be doing the same, and you're going to be coming with different information, or maybe, you know what I mean? And then it helps to go faster in that way. And you're going to want to support them. You're not going to want to show up to the call and be like, I didn't accomplish that, or I didn't do that, because you're going to bring the team down. Like, now you're a team and you feel like, you know, you want to elevate the team. You almost want to do it for them sometimes more than yourself. And to show up, because you don't want them to come to the call and be like, yeah, I didn't do this. Like, that's not the point. And so it helps. It definitely helps for sure.
Oh, that is awesome. I am loving your framework. So good. So number one, we're going to spark our motivation. So we're going to generate it. We're going to raise our level of ambition. We're going to start asking ourselves some tough questions. And then the second one, we're going to sustain our motivation. We're going to keep our emotional connection to our vision, to what is most important, to affirm the why. Love that so much. And then thirdly, we're going to elevate it. So we're going to level up our squad. So great. Love that. It's great. And it's so true, because not only are they there to keep you accountable, but you can celebrate together, right? And there's all of those awesome chemicals that go through our brain that then help sustain you know, the motivation and the energy when we're connecting with someone and we're sharing something really great and sharing the celebration. So that is so super helpful. Have we missed anything in your framework?
I think we've covered everything. Another piece I just want to say, because this is so important, especially as us women, is that in stage 2, sustaining the momentum, you want to take daily action, which I think everyone already knows, right? Like, even if it's just one action towards where you're going, because that will create momentum. And then momentum creates motivation. If you just don't see any momentum, you literally cannot sustain the motivation. And so the problem with that, though, I see, is women are always like kind of beating themselves up, or I haven't gotten as far as I wanted to. And they're almost always looking at what they haven't got done at the end of the day versus all the things that they have. Because as far as I'm concerned, us women, we freaking kick butt, and we run circles around people, especially moms. Like they like know how to multitask. Like you wouldn't even believe. Like I'm not a mom, but I see it. I work with moms, and it's like, oh, whoa, look at what you just did all day. And you come to the call and you're like, I haven't done anything. And I go, what? Like, let's look at what you have done. You have to acknowledge. There's two pieces in order to be able to be successful, is it's acknowledgement and action. If you don't have one of those, that's like the framework. Like if you're missing that piece, which we always take action, right? At the end of the day, like we're all go-getters. We're all high performers here. We're all amazing moms they're just rock the party. But the acknowledgement piece is the piece that I see missing 9 times out of 10. And if you're always beating yourself up over all the things maybe you didn't get done, and that's going to steal your motivation if you're not your own cheerleader and you're not going, yes, like you rocked. Even if you just did a half of the step you wanted to do that day, at least you did something. And if you acknowledge yourself at the end of the day, and that's how you ended your day, how do you think when you woke up in the morning you would feel with motivation? You would probably feel way better than lying in bed at night going, oh my gosh, I haven't done enough for my business, or I haven't done, I didn't go to the gym today, I only did yoga, or whatever is going on in that mental internal game. I think that's the only other piece that is so super important to do.
Yeah, we are our harshest critics for sure. It is so true. We don't do nearly enough celebrating, nearly enough acknowledging of, the stuff that we do, particularly when we often have roles where we are taking care of other people. That in itself, it feels just like, just something I've got to do. But it's still such an important role, and it's still stuff that takes up time and resources in our day. And so it's all part of the journey, right? So such a good point. Thank you very much. Tiffany Julie, before you go, can you tell us a little bit about what you have on offer for our women out there who are watching?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a momentum morning audio, and and it's free, and it's 15 minutes, right? So if you don't have 15 minutes to rev yourself up in the morning, we have to have a chat, because that's where it all starts, right? Like if you need to just turn it on and it's me in your ear in the morning, and it's like got awesome music in the background to get you fired up. It goes through your intentions. It helps you visualize your goals. You get moving. I have you getting movement in some way. So you're opening up your body, you're waking yourself up, and you're looking at your vision. You're putting some gratitude in there so you can get like all the feel goods, of all the things you're grateful for, all the visions. I have you visualizing yourself in your dream, and planning out the action steps you're going to do that day, and setting really great intentions for yourself, and raising your energy all at the same time in 15 minutes, because not all of us have a lot of time, especially as moms. You have like very small windows some days, and that can get overwhelming if you need like this. For me, I have a really long morning routine, but not everyone can fit that in. So this encompasses literally everything we talked about on the call today, except for that external accountability. But you could tell your accountability partner that's what you're doing. Anyway, it will help you to get that energy and generate the motivation every day. So that's what I've got for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And for women watching this interview right now, you can get that awesome free offering from Tiffany Julie on the page where you are viewing this interview. Tiffany Julie, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me again. It was a pleasure.